You are listening to the Wannabe Collective, your new variety podcast featuring every fandom that you could possibly think of. On the Wannabe Collective, all wannabes are welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. You are listening to Beer Bros from the Wannabe Collective. I gotta be honest, it's a different type of Beer Bros this time because Clay, Colby, and Abby are not with us. I kind of went behind their backs, and I had a couple of new folks on to get their whimsical tales of life. It's a special episode because we have two new podcasters, or potential podcasters. We're not sure. This is their first time on a podcast, is all I have to say. We're going to talk about why people think certain bands suck and if it's warranted or not. And then we might even give some of our own opinions. I don't know. We'll be 2 beers in by that point, so we'll see what happens. You never know with this group. I have with me one Jake Labriere. I think I said that right every time. Well, I remember one time I thought I did say it right. Okay, good. Because I was like, I thought about making a joke and being like, Jake Library, here he is. No, I'm just kidding. And then I also have one Elijah Middlesworth with me as well this evening. Guys,
hello.
How we feeling tonight? How we feeling?
Pretty good.
Really good. We're going to drink beer, so.
The nerves, if there's any nerves there, it's unfortunate we have to do this over Zoom too, because Zoom's the worst. It's ruined a lot of shows for me personally, like the cadence of it, but it ends up being okay. But I'm excited we were able to do this and get together and talk for a little bit about, just whatever. I'm going to tell the story. Jake hit me up. It's been a while ago, and he said, hey man, by the way, this is how me and Jake know each other. Jake and I volunteered for a thing a couple of years ago. We were heading up to St. Louis, Missouri, like basically every week, every other week is what it felt like. And he and I would crack jokes and we just became friends through that. It's the same thing that one Ryan Dalton and myself, Ryan Dalton is also a regular wannabe at this point. And it was the same type of deal. We met at the same thing. And Jake hit me up and he's like, hey, me and my friend have been wanting to potentially start a podcast, but we don't really know where to get started. And ladies and gentlemen, if you know anything from the Wannabe Critic, we do all kinds of stuff over here. So, Jake, I think you came to the right place, and I'm really, really excited for you to dip your toes into the podcasting world. Same thing with Elijah. Funny thing with Elijah, I've heard a lot about you. I've never met you.
Hopefully all good things.
It's all been good things, relatively. But I whenever I would go,
he's only heard stuff from me, so it's been terrible.
Yeah. Well, and also, that's the thing is, every time I would go to St. Louis, I stayed with Elijah's sister and brother-in-law. So they were very hospitable, great people. Shout out to them. And yeah, I heard nothing but good things from them. And not your sister. Your sister hates you, but your mom and dad.
We all know that.
Yeah, your mom and dad though. Like they
your mom and dad also hates you. So
yeah, they said that you're their pride and joy and all this other stuff. And so it's finally nice to sit down and talk to you. But guys, thank you so much for making the time to do it. I know it's been a while since we talked about getting this going. But here we are now, and I'm really excited. You never know what you're going to get with first-time podcasters because, sometimes people will be like, oh, I want to be on a podcast, but they have nothing to say. But I can tell it's going to be a good show from you guys. But before we get started into here, because people want to hear about you for sure. Before we get started into, what you guys are about, what you geek out about, what your thing is, whatever, we got to get into our first beer of the evening and kind of announce what that first beer is. So tonight we are going to be doing All Day IPA from Founders. This was a suggestion from a fellow Beer Bros listener. Shout out to Caleb Burton, who's he's my cousin actually. We were supposed to do this beer with him, but it just never happened, and it's probably not going to happen for a while. So here we are. We're going to sip on this for a little bit, and after we find out more about you guys, we'll give a little wannabes honest opinion on what we think of this beer. So, Jake, let's start with you, man. Give us the full-on lowdown about, you. Like, are you a gamer? Like, what do you... Just go. Just say it all.
I don't know. I think I dabble in the arts, a little bit of everything. I wouldn't say I'm a gamer per se, because when I think of a gamer, I think of somebody like hardcore into it.
Or like my wife.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, I'll hop on. I hop on with Elijah or something, play a little bit of Minecraft, whatever's on Xbox, whatever we feel like. I'm into music. Music's probably what I like doing the most, honestly. Play guitar some, try to write a little bit here and there.
Which is actually a very good writer. If you ever listen to any of his stuff, like it's just he blows me out of the water sometimes with the things that he can come up with. Even if it's a 30-second song, it's excellent. Like I ask him to play his songs like probably at least 3 times when he comes over to the house. Something different because you get into the groove of listening to the same radio station. That's nice to hear some original music.
So are you guys like, so sometimes you'll get like competitive best friends. Are you guys like BFF? Is that safe to say? Like you guys are best friends? Is that a thing? Or
I'd say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Elijah's like, yes. Jake's like, I hate this guy.
Well, I am technically kind of his boss, so
yeah,
he's,
yeah, there you have
I hate him even more.
Yeah.
So but Elijah's actually oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, is Elijah like the hype man? Like, is Elijah like a hype man for you type thing, or is there like a competitive, like underlying thing, like a brotherly type thing there? I mean, go ahead.
I don't really feel like we actually agree on just about everything. So we don't really have any competitiveness, I don't feel like.
Yeah, the reason that we agree on so much is what makes it hard when we try to brainstorm for future podcasts or shows or whatever, is just because we agree on too much. We have to find the right dynamic to where we can have a decent, discussion and not get angry with each other. But that's even hard, just because everything, like with this whole podcast this time, we were talking about, what band do you think? And we're going back and forth, and we're like, no, we both agree that those are awesome bands or whatever. So it's hard to come up with something like that just because we agree so much.
Yeah. Well, and that's the type of thing too, where you almost have to like create artificial, like controversy within yourselves a little bit. And, that's called playing devil's advocate. You may not necessarily feel that way, but at least bring it to the argument, which is kind of the thing tonight that we're going to be talking about, like a little bit later, about, okay, why does people think, like, what bands do people think suck, quote unquote, and why? Like, is it warranted? Like, do they actually suck? Or like, and I have a lot to say about this for sure, because there's one band in particular, and we're all thinking it. We all know what we're talking about, what we're going to be talking about, and that's going to be a fun topic to get into. So that's kind of interesting to hear you guys talk about that, though. But yeah, Jake, continue. Sorry, we kind of already derailed. You guys are going to be great podcasters, I can already tell. Go ahead. What else? What else floats your boat?
Well, first I was going to go off what Elijah said about writing, and he's like kind of my, I guess I'd call him my test dummy with writing songs, because I don't really play songs in front. Oh no, I guess you could say he's my hype man too, because I don't really play in front of people. I get like major stage fright. So I think the only people I comfortably play in front of is probably him, my wife, and my mom, or like the only 3 people that I can go to with the song and then play it and then be like, okay, what do you think? So he kind of like, actually, he helps me a lot. If I'm stuck or something, he'll help me come up with a line or change the wording here and there. But then when we got people over, usually at his house, we have another friend that plays a lot. And so he's always the one that's like, he's like, okay, you guys shut up and listen to Jake's song that he wrote. So it helps me, like, slowly helping me starting to play in front of more than like 2 people at a time.
That's awesome though. Like that's the type of thing though. Like that's the kind of friendship. I read something recently and it was like a revelation to me. It was like, friends hype you up. Like, good friends are there whenever you're celebrating. Like, they're there celebrating with you. Like, they're there to hype you up and make you feel good, and also to be honest with you. Like, if it's really good, like, you're not gonna like be negative. So it's like, watch your friend, like watch the people that are around you whenever you're failing, but especially watch the people around you whenever you're succeeding, with whatever it is that you may be doing, because the people who are there for you no matter what, whether you're not doing great or like whether you're doing really, really well, like those are the people you actually want around you. So that's nice to hear that you guys have like I mean, Jake's probably actually a giant douche to Elijah, but no, I'm
completely.
just it's like a one-way street probably. No, I'm just kidding. That is really cool to hear
all the
though.
time. I don't understand.
Well, no, and that's the thing though is I've seen you guys' Instagram videos and stuff too. Like, you both are pretty good players, and it's kind of cool to see. It reminds me of me and my brother. Like, you just kind of see two players that just kind of vibe with each other, and it makes me as a musician, it makes me wonder like what the conversation is before you hit record, and like makes me wonder like I wonder what they did to say like, okay, like on measure 32, like we're gonna do this and this instead, and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to see that relationship, and it's kind of it's cool to have you both on here to have you talk about different stuff for sure. But Jake, unless you have some more to say, I want to switch over to Elijah.
No, I think that was pretty much the gist. Covers everything I'm interested in.
And you have a cool microphone, so there you have it.
Thanks. It's like $20 on Amazon.
His mom probably found it on Facebook Marketplace.
She did. Amazon.
Like, shut up, my mom's awesome. Oh my god, he's like, shut up, my mom's great. Oh my god, that's amazing.
We'll talk about my mom.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm down. She's probably a nice lady. I mean, if she raised you're so adorable over there, just chilling with your cute microphone.
Thanks.
No, I'm just.
Well, she did raise his brother though too, so that's kind of questionable.
Yeah, what is that? It's like yin and yang. I met your brother, and I was like, "How are you related to Jake? You're a tool." Like, yeah.
I'm sending him the link to this video.
Oh, do it. I'm not afraid of him. It's like, whatever. Oh my god, no, that's funny. Man. Elijah, it's your turn, man. You just let it all out. Well, games, music, what is it?
Man, I am into everything, anything fandom. I'm really into. I love, even if it's things I don't know. Like it seems like every time I go to Comic-Con, I find something else that sparks my interest that I wouldn't have known, beforehand. So I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. Star Wars is my number one, first and foremost, and then. I'm a Trekkie as well. I like all the old school Adult Swim shows. Like, I'm a huge Adult Swim fan. Can we talk about that? I don't know if you guys are on TikTok, but the Adult Swim bump trend going on TikTok right now.
That's the thing. Seen that? Like, I have seen it, and it makes me mad because like a year or two ago, whenever I was trying to really get like wannabe critic productions off like the ground, if you look at our intros and stuff, it's very like. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a black background with like text. And I had always remembered as a kid being up way too late and like that text popping up and saying like something just super plain, like, here's a show for you. You're welcome. Like stuff like that. And I was like, I want that to be like the feeling of the intro for our shows. Like that's what I want.
Right.
And now all of a sudden it's like it's just pop. And I'm not saying like, oh, I was there first. Like I'm so hipster. It's not what I'm saying at all. It's just like when I was trying to explain that to people were like, oh, okay, like you're an idiot, whatever. Yeah. Now it's like this huge trend. It's like people need to listen. Just pay me, all right. People need to listen to me more. All right. I have power. I'm hip. Like, come on. No, I have seen the thing though. I have seen the trend, and I'm down for it. I think it's awesome.
Man, I when I first came across my feed, I sat there for probably 45 minutes just going down a spiral, just because I just remember waking up and hearing the same sounds, seeing the same things on TV, and it just threw me back. And I think the best one I saw was it said something it was a guy playing on a Game Boy Color with the printer. And it was the text said something stupid along the lines like they said that if you play video games you have a short attention span. Well, I don't remember what else they said, but here's my picture, and it was the Adult Swim coming out of the Game Boy Color, which I thought was really cool.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Because I used to have one of those too. Yeah, it was really cool.
That is pretty rad. So you say you like Star Wars. Star Wars is like a focal point for us here, at Wannabe Critic Productions. So as far as Star Wars goes, and I'm sure this will be something, we talk about in the future as well, but do you, and I'm not trying to like start a discourse here, like debate or whatever, but do you like the sequels at all?
Yeah. I respect them in their own right. I would have rewritten them, but everything, the ones that J.J. Abrams did, at least I have respect for, because the guy, he's on point. I mean, he did what he had to work with. I can't blame him for the fall of the sequels, but I can give him credit for making what he had into what it is. Because they are, in my opinion, they are good movies. Are they good Star Wars movies? No,
I'm going
there's
to
a lot
close my
better
door.
ones.
No worries. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot better ones in my opinion, but I don't hate all the hate that I see going around about the sequels. I'm not 100% in agreement with.
Yeah.
But I can see why they're not the favorites.
Well, and that's the thing is you can't appease Star Wars fans in general, and like Star Wars is such a big topic. We're going through the Skywalker saga, with the big group right now. And that's been a lot of fun. We already did, Phantom. And of course, as of recording right now, we got like Rebels. Our Rebels reviews are coming out right now. And it's just so interesting. Like I always say this thing, like Star Wars just means different things to everybody, and everyone likes Star Wars for different reasons. So, what are you going to do?
Thanks.
Back to the topic at hand. Anyone who listens to the show is probably laughing because they know I take a lot of pee breaks. So, it is what it is. So yeah, Star Wars, I appreciate what you said about Abrams. The more I watch those movies, the more, because I was like freedom fighter, like anyone who claims to like Star Wars and is dissing on these movies, like, can suck it, and like these are dope, like this is Star Wars, like you really like the prequels better than you like these movies and all this other stuff. And that was more reactionary than anything. I think I love the movies, I really do. Here's the thing, I love all the Star Wars movies, like, and we've talked about this many a time, and that's the thing, is the new like idea is I'm not going to fight with you about Star Wars because I like it all. I like it all a lot. And there's things about every piece of the story, so far that I really, really enjoy. And it's just not worth getting too upset over, in my opinion, anymore. There was a time where it was really fun, but I appreciate you hearing you say that you do, at least, you appreciate them, but there are downfalls for sure. So,
well, and it's like you said, it's all Star Wars. I mean, and that's kind of my big thing, and I hear people that are just absolutely like trash talking the sequels. It's all Star Wars.
Yeah.
Let's just be happy that we're getting Star Wars movies in this
That's
day
my
and
thing.
age.
Like, it's like, if you say you would have rather had nothing else, you're a liar. Like, you're a liar. I'm sorry. Like, at least you got to go to the movies and see more Star Wars, I don't know. Like,
I got to go see my favorite character, on screen that I never got to see because, he quit doing Star Wars movies by the time I was born. Granted, he got stabbed in the chest in the first movie, but, I still got to see him on the screen, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
Han Solo is my number one favorite Star Wars character.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. I mean, we could go on and on about Star Wars in general, and maybe we should in the future. I don't know. There's always opportunities for that in the future, for sure. But you mentioned you were talking a little bit, maybe it was on mic or off mic. Are you a gamer at all, or?
Yes. Yeah. Me and my wife actually both are. We love playing games. My favorite is I love Black Ops Zombies.
Okay.
That's my favorite game. I absolutely dig it. Me and my buddies get together and play. Allie she's not so much a big fan of that, but she loves her Apex Legends, her Fortnite, or Destiny.
Apex is a solid game. Go ahead, just open it, Jake. Jake, audio listeners.
Yeah,
Jake,
I didn't know if we were drinking.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jake keeps pointing at his can and is like, I don't know what to do. I'm a noob. I don't know what to do. Just
beer.
Yeah. Just open it. Just open it right up.
I like how you totally gave us the complete rundown before recording, and it instantly just left my mind. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it's fine.
Check this out, though.
Ayo, he's got one of the Game Club mugs.
Nifty little thing.
Ayo. Dude, if there was a way for me to make like a beer, that's my goal, is to get like drop ship beer glasses for Game Club, or for, the Wannabe Collective. We're kind of in a consolidation period right now. I say it's really me. I make all the decisions. All right. I'm the one walking around making the decisions, doing everything. Because it's, I like to do a lot of stuff, and we need to have a beer glass made. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this and you know of a place to get some glasses made, a good place, your favorite glass place to get glasses made, let me know. And they'll make some Beer Bros glasses available. So,
while we're on the subject of getting stuff made, where is the best place to get a hat made?
A hat?
Off topic. Yeah.
I don't know, actually.
Have you ever done a custom hat?
I've wanted to, because like especially the dad hat. The dad hat is kind of my favorite thing ever. As you can see, I got Tom Nook. I'm wearing him on my forehead here. I've looked into it, and I just haven't found any that I've been super crazy about. I'll get in touch with the Bush League guys, Bush League Gaming. They do really awesome show. They're like my favorite gaming podcast to listen to outside of What's Good Games. Super solid guys, down to earth. I've had them on the show before. They've had me on their show a couple of times. Really great guys. I'll ask them where they get their hats made, because it's good dad hat quality. But
I have a great idea. I'm just not going to tell you what it is.
okay, no, yeah, that's great. I'm happy. I also have a great idea that I'm not going to tell you about until we're done with the show. So,
well, yeah, but I don't care. So,
okay,
wow,
well,
okay.
there you heard it. Insubordinate and churlish, ladies and gentlemen, coming from Jake Leck.
There is a boot thing off this Zoom. We could just get him out.
Yeah, we could just kick him.
On the show.
Yeah, because he has
hey,
no. You have
make me
no
a
power
host
here.
so I can mute Elijah.
Oh God. So are you a PC gamer, Elijah? And do you go by Elijah or Eli? Like, I feel like I'm,
You can call me whatever you want, and I'll respond to it. I mean,
what do you
Jake knows.
prefer?
A lot of my friends call me Eli. A lot of my friends and mainly my family calls me Elijah. But
okay.
Either or is fine. Whatever is more comfortable for you.
Okay.
Don't matter.
Cool. Because I know a few Eli's, but I don't know. You're gonna be an Elijah for me, I think.
All right.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't offending you, or making you uncomfortable in any way.
Nah.
So are you primarily PC or Xbox or what?
So single player games, I play a lot of PC. Xbox is my multiplayer platform. I'm not as quick on a mouse and keyboard as I am with a controller, so I tend to get really, really frustrated when I play multiplayer games on my PC. But so yeah, mainly single player on my PC. Like I play like RuneScape, which I know you play RuneScape. I play
Love RuneScape,
which that's technically multiplayer, but not first person shooter multiplayer.
Yeah, not in the same vein. Yeah,
it's not the same scheme. I play Knights of the Old Republic on PC like all the time. I've played it through both of them like 4 times, and that's a great game. But yeah, mostly my first person's all on the Xbox. I like having the controller in my hand. And I get mad because my wife is 10 times better than me, and I quit playing with her.
Dude, she's ridiculous.
She's a regular on the top 3 in an Apex game. She's a regular top 3.
I feel like it's anything she plays. Like we went through a kick for a solid year where we played Battlefront nonstop every night, and she would just murk us like no question.
No question at all. Top 3, and would just push our stats all the way down to like 5 or 6. Like
what's crazy is I can get on that game and have like a 20-6 ratio, and then we'd play her, and I was like fortunate if I got two kills
because she targets him all the time.
I'd just be screaming over the mic.
It is crazy to me how people, because like I don't consider myself good at games. I would never say that. I'd actually, if I could, I would consider myself actually bad. On the average, like I looked at my Halo KD the other day, and I'm like, good God, 0.8, like across the board. So I'm not great. I can have good matches just like anybody, but it always blows me away how people, can just read the game completely different than you and can just like almost see the code on the screen. I've heard stories of people that are just, like ringers at video games, and like, it's not like they're just like, they just have natural talent, it just speaks to them that way. And it just blows me away. It's crazy. So that's good on you for being married to someone like that, Elijah, who can keep you humble, on the sticks. Cause, honestly, my wife, it's not like she's like some pro gamer or anything. But as far as like, they're there for a while, we were playing Fortnite together because she has her own PS4. And, there for a while we were playing Fortnite, and she was like more devoted to being good than I was. So you just kind of take it for granted. Like you don't really have to try, cause like you've been playing games your whole life, whatever. She tried to be really good, and it's not like she could build or anything, but just like her gunplay was probably just as good, if not better than mine. I think she's probably a way better team player than I was. And it's just, I don't know. Video games are awesome. Like the things that they do for people, and like how some people just take to them more.
Right.
So
Well, before we had my son, that's all we would do, on a weeknight. We'd both get home from work, have something for dinner, and then it was immediately I was at my desktop, turn on my Xbox, and she was in the living room, turn on the Xbox, and that's all we did for like years. That was our main source of entertainment, which was awesome. I mean, we have so many good memories, especially
yeah,
with Jake. He would log on and play, and we got so many, captures and stuff of us just being ridiculous, and
that's amazing.
it's great.
That's
It's a
cool.
Well,
lot of
and
fun.
they still play just as much. They just lock the kid in the bathroom now. He just isn't telling me that part.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, it seems like you guys have a pretty, tight, close knit, group and whatnot, and it's cool. I'm glad we have you on the show, and I'm excited to see what your guys' podcasting looks like in the future for sure. But before we move on to our first beer, Elijah, is there anything else that is significant that you'd like to point out?
Uh, oh,
Oh,
Jake
I
has
got
something
something.
to say, I guess.
It's
Jake.
it's about him. It's not about me.
Oh, okay.
So I think if he had to like introduce himself, it would be gamer, musician, and at home brewmaster.
Do
He
you
brews
homebrew?
beer.
I do.
Dude, that is
All
awesome.
all my draft beer is my own homebrew.
And they're fantastic.
Do you have a keg
too.
fridge?
I built my own.
You built your own keg fridge?
Yeah, I built it out of a old deep freezer I found in a barn actually. I helped my grandma move some old furniture out of someone's house, and there was this freezer, and they were giving it away, so she took it, and eventually I got it, and I converted it into a
Dude,
kegerator. It's
that
a
is
5
so
kegerator.
freaking rad. I was literally just
Yep.
talking to my wife because I only have so much space in my little. I've seen pictures of like Elijah's like he's like telling us like, oh yeah, like Star Wars and stuff. Elijah has probably the most glorious man cave I've ever seen in my whole freaking life. I've seen pictures of it and
It's
I'm
pretty
like,
cool.
God dang it, that guy. Like I want to meet him so bad. Like, and
Yeah.
I only have a certain amount of room, so I'm torn between getting because I have a mini fridge right here, and usually that's like my claim to fame, or like dude, you have a mini fridge. And it's like, dude, yeah, it changes your life. Like all I need is a toilet,
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to like either get upgrade because there's only so much you can fit in a mini fridge, but now they're making mini fridges that are like mini beer fridges to where you can fit like 100, you can fit like 100 cans of something in there, and it's like compact.
Yeah,
It's
they're
like,
all
God, do I
glass
wanna-
face and nice looking.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, do I want to do that or do I want to invest and get a keg fridge? I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard decision, but dude, like the fact that you've made your own, like that's freaking dope. And you make your own beer too. Like that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
I have a question though, because like beer, and more beer. There's only a handful of websites really where you can actually order beer. Like beer kits and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Do you kind of come up with your own recipes or do you order like kits from those websites and stuff like that?
I've done both in the past. Like I have definitely made my own recipes, and it's been really hit or miss with those. I mean, some of them so I make an IPA that Jake and Sierra just absolutely love. Every time I make it, they drink me dry within months. But so that was, I would say, is a success. And I make a stout too. That's my own recipe that I put on nitro, and
Ooh.
that was a pretty big hit too. But I've done both, and honestly, I can say that the kits are just as, or a lot of people downplay talk down on the kits. Like you gotta buy your own grains, you gotta do your own thing. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but these kits are fantastic,
Oh my
especially
God.
for like the average brew maker, that makes it stuff at home. You could buy a kit and it's just as good as going to buy, a Founder's beer, and you're
Sure.
spending half the cost.
Sure.
And you're getting 5 gallons, production.
Like,
Yeah.
some of the beers that he's made, actually, if he made it, I would buy his before there are other beers that I get in the store. It's about like that IPA that he was talking about. That one was fantastic. It was really, really good.
So awesome though, because like to me, beer is so like, I don't know. And this is crazy. Like no matter what, like even if the batch is exactly the same, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll get batches, especially if something like a sour, and I'm like, wow, this tastes completely different than last time.
Yeah.
You know, and even stuff like, you know, we'll get to you, Jake. Man, we're talking beer, all right? Big boys are
I
talking
think
beer.
I know the answer. I think I know the answer to that, though.
No,
Why that?
go ahead.
Why it's
No,
like
please
that.
go. Please go.
I'm not going to get all scientific. So Elijah, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Is it the pH levels that change that?
Yeah. So it also, I was trying to explain this to Jake. In my experience, when you get you get the same type of beer, and it happens a lot in craft breweries. Um, because it's like you get into a brewery like Anheuser-Busch, they have their own water treatment plant. So they pump water in from the river and they're treating it in-house. So it's constantly the same unless you get someone that doesn't know what they're doing and they treat the water wrong, change the pH level, the acidity, what have you. The water is extremely important, in your beer. And it seems like such a, minute, ingredient, but that having your water profiles correct changes your beer. And so you get a lot of these craft breweries where, okay, let's just say the city water treatment plant, 1 week just changed their pH level, just a point. That really changes the flavor profile of your beer. It really does. When you start reading on making your own beer, one of the first things that they say when you kind of get into the advanced stages, let's just say beer making, 101, that's one of the things that they preach is, change the chemical construct of your water. That's what makes great beer. So yeah, like Jake said, when the pH level and the acidity is off in water, that changes the batch of your beer. And then also, it also affects if your beer gets warm and then cold, it makes it skunk a lot faster if it's not consistent. So.
That makes a lot of sense because, like, you think about just like drinking water in general, like, yeah, I'll drink tap water and yes, it will hydrate me. But like when I buy like Fiji, like Fiji water, and like, it's like, not only is it hydrating me, but I'm like, God, like that's just good water. Like, my God, it's so good. And it's, look, folks, before you be like, oh, Gabe's bougie, he drinks Fiji, it's not that expensive, all right? It ain't that expensive. Buy it in a case. It's like $12 a case. It's not that big of a deal. It is delicious. So that makes total sense that would translate to your beer-making process,
Yeah.
And I mean, there are times, too, where you drink something from, like, a local brewery, and you're like, man, that tastes kind of dirty, Like, that tastes like not quite as fresh as the last time I had it. Which makes a lot of sense. So that's amazing though. Like, here you kind of talk about, like the whole process, and that's right. I had no idea that you brewed your own beer. So
yeah. And I'm no scientist, so don't take everything I say to heart. But I mean, that's from what I've read and what I've studied. That's kind of how things work. And it's just, brewing is a big part. Not a big part of my life, but every time I make a batch of beer, even though I know I won't be able to drink it for a month, it's a big old grin on my face the entire day.
Oh, I bet. Well, see, that's the thing is I grew up brewing beer with my dad. So, because he always did kit beers and stuff. So I always remember, like, helping him cap beer, and we had a keg fridge growing up. So, he'd make like a half a keg of something. He'd make like a Citra IPA, or like I feel like he made. Yeah, no, that was right. He would make an IPA that you could drink, like you could literally drink it like within a week or a couple weeks, of brewing it. It'd sit in the keg for a while and ferment for a while, and of course like the tapper and stuff. But yeah, no, that was always a lot of really cool. There's just that whole process, and I definitely.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, no, just say there's just like, even like the brewing process, it's like you got to wait for it to boil, and it's like there's just a smell. You go outside and it's like, God, like that smells so good. It's like, man. Well, I remember whenever you think about it this way too, for whatever reason, like mentally, this kind of changed my viewpoint of beer. In general, is like beer, for lack of a better word, is basically like a really strong tea. It's like. That is cool. Really, you're letting it steep for X amount of time. You're adding stuff to it, and then you're letting that ferment. so it kind of is like a similar process of, did I freeze? Okay, I didn't freeze. So it's kind of like a similar process. And ever since I've seen that and he explained that to me, I'm like, man, that's kind of crazy to think about. So now when I drink beer, like it just the process of how, like it's something like a stout. It's like the process of what they had to go through to get that to happen, how much sugar they had to put in it, and like it just kind of puts things into perspective for you a little bit of what the whole process is, and it's just really rad. So that's cool to see. You'll have to I'll definitely be talking to you about an idea I have for something in the future. So especially since you were kind of explaining the whole theory of it. But I think, gentlemen, we've been talking for about half an hour now at this point. I think it's time to talk about our first beer, which is, of course, the Founders All Day IPA. I'm going to read the description, if I can find one. There is no description. Is there a description on your guys' can?
No, not on ours.
Okay, well, whatever.
Just a warning label.
Yeah. It just says brewed for U.S. Founders All Day IPA Session Ale. I have the 19-ounce can. I didn't drink the whole thing. I'm gonna go first of what I think. Obviously, this is a super piney IPA. You're not gonna get a whole lot of sweet notes here. I think it's weird to think about a time 6-7 years ago whenever someone offered you an IPA, like this is kind of like textbook definition of what an IPA is. We think about like, whenever you watch Homer Simpson drink beer, or, you watch like a cartoon character drink beer and it just says beer on the can. And like now, like you go drink like a Busch Light or Natty Light or like a Budweiser, like it's very much like that generic, just like beer flavor. I feel like that kind of like translates a little bit to this Founders IPA. Like 6 years ago, if you offered someone an IPA, like you could literally just put IPA on the can, like with no branding, nothing. And like, that's what this would be. If you like those pinier flavors, this is really mild, actually. I think it's really good. Like I don't really have a ton of negative things to say about this beer, and it's pretty dry, actually. It's not super like rank. Sometimes you'll get some of those IPAs that are just, man, like that piney flavor is just so potent, and I'm not really getting that here. It definitely has that piney flavor, but it's not so overwhelming where I feel like I could drink this whole can if I wanted to, because it's refreshing and it's dry. So Jake, you've been pretty quiet for a while. Why don't we switch to you?
I was actually just going to say, is it just me, or do you taste a little bit of like orange in it too?
Yeah, I didn't get any orange.
I get like a little, I don't get much like orange, like fruit. It's more like
a tangerine type thing.
Well, it's more like orange peel, I would say. Like sometimes you take a
definitely
bite out of
sweet.
Like, yeah, no, it definitely has that bitter, which, hops in general, you think about what a hop is, it kind of has that fruity base to it, like that, or not fruity, but that peel, kind of like that peel flavor a little bit. It's more grapefruity, I would say, than orange, but yeah, there's definitely at least a little bit of a hint there to it, for sure.
I think you nailed it right on the head when you said like you could just put IPA on it, because I remember when I first started drinking beer, the first IPA I ever had is exactly tasted like this, and that's when I drank that's exactly what I thought it was the first time I ever had an IPA.
Well, and I would say too, as you drink more IPAs and stuff, because there was a time I hated IPAs. I was like, I don't like them. No way. Absolutely not. And I think even if you have some of the, the East Coast hazy style, New England style IPAs, even when you first start drinking them, all of it tastes the same. And, there was a local one here. We always talk about Mother's Brewing. Their IPA here that has become pretty popular, Sunshine Chugsuckle, which is my favorite IPA to date. It is just so good, and it was just a little bit sweeter than everything else that I had tried before. And I'm like, man, what is that? And it's like, oh, that's the New England style, which had been relatively newly popularized over the past 4 years or so. I think that that Citra style had existed for quite some time, but it wasn't as popular. Because it was the narrative across the board for IPA lovers was this is what you drank was like this pioneer style IPA.
Yeah.
So it's only been more recently that New England Citra heavy, sweeter, dare I say, style has really kind of come into the fold. And I'm all about it because the sweeter New England style is what made me really fall in love with IPAs, to where now like a West Coast, double imperial is like, oh my God, like that's heaven. It's just so good. Like I think about something like Dogfish 120, is just like, holy crap, this is so freaking good. But that's as piney as it comes. There's not really a lot of sweet to that. Maybe on the back end a little bit. But my God, like so good. So
I couldn't stand that one the first time I tried it. That Dogfish Head one. Oh my God, I hated that one the first time I tried it. But I like it now.
Yeah, and I think the more IPAs you try, like that, because that's how it was for me. I would keep, and it was the same thing with sours too. Which our second beer is going to be this Tiki Slam from Boulevard. For me, sours, it was like, dude, this is weird. This is really weird, until I found one that I really, really liked. Then you're excited to try more, because it's like, well, what if this one's like Vape Tricks? Like, what if this one's like, Rainbow Sherbet? Like, you just never know. So you just have to keep trying stuff. So
do you remember which one it was that you tried for the first time that you really liked?
Yeah, it was Vape Tricks. It was actually, we have it on camera, back on the, me and my wife actually did a Beer Bros in its infancy. I think it was Beer Bros number 2 or number 3, was Vape Tricks from, Prairie. And my God, like it tasted like a cherry Jolly Rancher. It was so freaking good. Oh my God,
so
it was incredible.
More of a sweet then?
It was very sweet. You sometimes you eat a Jolly, any Jolly Rancher you eat definitely is more sour, sweet forward, but towards the back of your palate, you have that little hint of sour. And I mean, my wife is not that. That was the whole thing of getting my wife on to do Beer Bros, was like, she doesn't like beer that much. So to have her on and like look at me and be like, oh my God, this is delicious. It's just very cherry forward and really, really good. Prairie Artisan Ales does not miss with their sours. They're probably the best in the game whenever it comes to sours that are the most widely available. So good. So
I'll have to try that one.
Yeah, definitely do. Any other notes you wanted to add to that though, Jake?
No, I just looked it up. I just Googled that beer. And the only thing I could really find offhand was beerandbrewing.com. And it's not detailed. It just says orange, tangerine, light grass, pine. That's all it's got.
I'd say that's pretty spot on.
Yeah, I mean, it's really mild. Like, it's not like they're trying to go from like, it's not like they're calling it like the Pine or something like that. Remember that in the Ice Age? They're like, hey guys, pine cone. Like, like it's not Sid the Sloth talking about eating pine cones, but it's good. It is a good beer for sure. Yeah. I mean, to me, like, piney IPAs are not my first choice. Yeah, especially since but at the same time, whenever I do pick one up and enjoy it, it's like, once you've developed your palate to be ready for that type of thing, it's a completely different story, because you can appreciate it when you do try it. And it is a nice switch up. And it's almost like, oh, that's pretty good. It's almost like the difference between picking up a red wine versus a white wine. They're both wine, but one's a little more dry. There's all kinds of options, that can come from it for sure. So
that's actually a really good point that I never thought about, that you said, is kind of getting your palate ready for it.
Yeah.
Because that's so true. I never thought about that. You just pick one up and not really thinking about it. You just crack it open, start drinking. You're like, oh God, I don't think I can finish this.
Yeah. No, I think, the piney IPAs, here's the thing. This is for me. If I'm going to have like an IPA with a meal, like that drier, like super piney style, like that to me pairs really well with like your meat and potatoes. Like,
yeah, sure.
Like a really, what do they call it? Comfort food, like a really comfort food meal, like those drier IPAs, like they just pair really, really well. But if I'm going to do like pizza, or if I'm going to be like golfing or fishing, You know, like give me something that's more fruity, you know, like more fruity, more light, you know, more light feeling. I don't want to be like, like while I'm fishing, you know, or God forbid, checking on the cows or doing whatever. It's like, I don't want to drink a freaking Founders IPA while I'm out in 90-degree weather, you know, absolutely not. But, you know, like something a little more lighter for sure. Yeah. I mean, let's be real. I'm usually drinking Natty Light or Busch Light if I'm out on the farm doing something, you know, just because that's
Ice right here.
Dude, it's fine. It does its job. It's good. Like, oh god, there's nothing better. Ice cold, just pound it. Elijah, let's move on to you. You know, you kind of said that it hit the nail on the head. But do you have any other notes you wanted to add since you're the resident brewmaster?
I mean, not everything you guys have said. I mean, I agree with. I mean, I probably would have said close to the same thing. But the only thing I will disagree with is that this wasn't very super heavy in my opinion when it comes to an IPA. Like, I mean, I guess you did kind of say that, but it wasn't super piney. And this, for me, I could sit by the pool and drink these all day long and feel refreshed and loving it. I'm not doing it, like you said, when I'm doing work, but at the river, I'm floating by the pool, I'm laying out. I'm definitely drinking one of these. I could do these all day long.
Yeah, and I think that just kind of comes down to a difference in, you know, in palate. Like there's some people that like, oh my god, like I love scotch, like I could drink scotch every night, and I'm like, my god, what's wrong with you? Like I like scotch, I do like scotch, I cannot drink scotch every night, absolutely not. So yeah, no, I get it. And again, it's one of those things, like if you've been enjoying IPAs for a while anyways, you know, you're probably more accustomed to that. It's taken me a while to kind of have any love for any pine whatsoever, you know, any piney flavor. So for me, it's not my first pick, but I can totally see where you're coming from too. It's not like you have to be focused, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like a focused taster, like you're trying to like analyze everything. It just is what it is, you know? Yeah. So yeah, no hard feelings.
When I think about drinking beer, I don't know, I guess everybody's going to be a little different, but it kind of makes me laugh because at least for me, when you guys first had beer, did you pretty well like it or did you hate it at first?
My first beer, I loved it immediately.
Okay, well, never mind.
I really did.
What about you, Gabe?
That's a weird question. Are we talking like full on beer or like sips whenever I was a kid? Like,
well, yeah, I guess it kind of depends because like when we were young, I mean, dad would give us a Bud Light or something.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's kind of how it was for me too, right? Like I never had like a full beer of anything until I was of age. But I mean, sips and like drinks here and there, you know, I mean, well, I take that back. You know, there was a time period where, you know, I was 17, 18, 19, and we always had a case of Natural Light in the house at all times. Like that was what the house beer was, you know, an ice cold Natty Light. I've always said, if you can't enjoy an ice cold Natty Light, there's probably something wrong with you. Because it's not bad beer. Like it's basically water. It's basically water. It's the cheapest beer you can buy for the taste. I mean, so there'd be times, you know, we were in a band and we'd have band practice, and I'd have a couple Natural Lights, you know, and I think that for me kind of developed my palate at an earlier age. And I don't know, like for me, that was kind of the, you know, we kind of talk about that generic beer taste. That's Natural Light for me. Yeah. I mean, it's like you could literally just put beer on the can and it would make sense. So I always enjoyed beer. I always enjoyed the taste of beer. I had never disliked beer.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I would, you know, you go hunting, you know, you're 18, 19 years old, and you'd shoot something, your dad would give you a beer, you know.
Sure, yeah.
So I always reminisce with stuff like that, and that really got my love onto beer, and ever since then, I mean, I honestly, there's very few beers that I've had that I don't like, just because I've always had that natural basis of beer. Beer is good. Beer is a good drink to have.
Yeah. No, I agree. But why would you ask that question though, Jake?
So I guess because kind of like what you guys said, you know, when you're young, your dad gives you a beer or something. It's like, even if you thought it tasted gross, you're like, oh man, it's a beer. This is awesome. I'm going to drink this thing. But like, I remember hating beer, and it just kind of makes me laugh sometimes, because you hear of people that said they hated beer when they first started drinking. And it's just, I don't know. It's funny to me, because it's like, that sounds like such an alcoholic thing. Like, I hate it, but I'm going to drink it until I like it. So I just laugh at that every single time.
It's like an alcoholic walks into a liquor store and is like, "What do you got?" And they're like, "Well, we have scotch." It's like, God dang it! All right,
All right, let's do this.
Just like warm scotch. Like, oh God. Like you see like a guy. Oh God, I could not do it, dude. Like I need like full glass of ice, like ice cold for scotch, depending on what it is. I mean, I don't know. For me, like rye or even like bourbon, you know, I prefer that actually with just a little splash of water. I don't really like my rye or bourbon cold. Just a little splash of water, and I'll drink it like that. But like scotch, most of the time, you know, no matter what it is, I'm usually drinking it with ice in it. So, but you bring up a good point though, because I can't think back to a time where it was like, oh, beer's gross. Like, you know, I remember, yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird to think about, but yeah, no, I don't think back to a time where I ever thought that I thought like beer was like a gross thing.
Yeah. So. Yeah. See, even when I turned 21, like I was used to Bud Light, so I liked Bud Light at the time. But I don't remember what the first non-light beer was that I tried. But I even remember thinking like, oh man, I don't like it, and I don't even know at what point did I start liking beer, because now I like everything that I have.
Yeah, which is a good way to be though. Like, very, very, very rarely do I ever drink a beer and be like, "Ooh, like, yikes!" I think the last beer we had was like the last beer that made me do that was the Iron Maiden beer. Have you guys seen that? Holy crap! Is it? It is putrid. If you see Iron Maiden on a beer bottle, steer clear. Just saying.
Okay.
So. Of course, our next beer, and I'm not trying to cut this conversation short by any means. Our next beer, of course, is going to be Tiki Slam, which we will drink and enjoy some of. But guys, we're about an hour in. What do you say we take just a short little pee break, and then we'll come back to our next topic, which is, I don't know what to call this topic. Like, why do people think certain bands suck? I guess is what we'll call it, and then we'll go from there. So take a quick pre-break, and then we'll come right back.
All right.
It's always a strange thing whenever you come back from a pee break, because there's a really good chance that they have no idea how long it actually took, Like, we're just going to cut right back in. It's like, and we're back, So our main topic for this evening, gentlemen, and once again, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me and do this. It's going to be, I've had a really great time so far. You guys are already podcast ready. For future shows. So look at you go. Yeah, absolutely. Good times. So no, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm doing a sound check real quick because it's not showing any.
You're not getting any audio in your recording?
Well, it was, and now it's not showing any.
Well, either way.
I think it's good though.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. We still have the Zoom recording just in case. So, do certain bands really, in all caps, suck? I'm just gonna get it started. We're just gonna get it out there. Okay. Around the mid 2010s, that's when it was birthed, first of all. For some reason, it just became cool to hate Nickelback.
Thank you.
What?
Never heard of that.
Never heard of that ever.
It was just this thing, like that was just came out of nothing. It was just like that's what we did as like 90% of America is Nickelback sucks. Nickelback this and that, like Nickelback no, Nickelback whatever. And I'm like, people would tell me that and I'm like, yeah, but you've heard Hero from Spider-Man, the Spider-Man 1 soundtrack, right? Like,
that's an awesome song.
Dude. So here's the thing. And I want you guys to speak to this, and I want to hear some other bands too that supposedly suck. My perception of Nickelback was based off the the narrative that they suck until I heard one of their songs later on in life, and I'm like, I mean, they're like a more like party version of Stained, kind of. And I love Stained. I agree with that. I absolutely love Stained. And I'm like, Nickelback's not that bad. And it's like, no, dude, Nickelback sucks. Like, don't you defend Nickelback. My wife's family loves Nickelback. Like, And I just don't understand where this all came from or why. Like, and I'm super interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are, because to me, this is the earliest example that I can think of cancel culture getting its way. This is like the birth of cancel culture. You think about like Madonna back in the 80s, or like Marilyn Manson back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. No matter how hard people tried to cancel those two artists, there was no way it was happening. Right. So what happened? Why is cancel culture all of a sudden a thing? And also, why did it in fact start with Nickelback? Because to me, that's the earliest instance that I can think of where we, as like a group of people, got together and just decided, like, no, like this person, all they've worked for, whatever talent they might have, it doesn't matter. We're canceling them. Jake, kick us off. I want to hear what you're noodling around.
So for one, I love Nickelback. They start in like 96 or something, 97,
yeah, somewhere pretty early.
It was like mid 90s. So I grew up on Nickelback, but so I think I'm a little biased to it. But I kind of feel like it's one of those things. Well, maybe not Nickelback in particular with people's perception of them, but I feel like for some people, it's kind of one of those things, when you listen to music or a song, or there's a band that you love from when you were younger, and you listen to it now and you're like, oh, it's maybe not great music, but it's nostalgic. I feel like a lot of people who hate on Nickelback, that's the thing. They didn't grow up with Nickelback. And it's hard for me sometimes to tell, do I actually like them, or is it more of the nostalgia? But I actually just went back and listened to All the Right Reasons album from 2005. I love that album. I love every song on that album, just about. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
The album is full of hits.
I love, that album's awesome. Elijah, your camera's off, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get it back up.
Don't make him feel bad about himself, Jake.
No, but so I like Nickelback a lot, and I can see where people kind of come in with it and like, oh, their lyrics suck and they just try to rhyme all the time and that's it. I could see where they're coming from, but I don't know. I don't understand the Nickelback hate.
And here's the other thing too is, all of a sudden, Gen Zs are bringing back what is it, Bush or Creed? They're bringing back Creed. Bush. Is that Creed?
I think it's Creed.
It's Creed. Really? Yes. And I mean, you listen to Creed. Yeah, out of all of them, and you listen to Creed, and it's like, I remember we were having band practice one time, and our guitar player was like, "Dude, Creed wasn't that bad." He's like, "It just sucked for them because they were putting out music that sounded exactly like Pearl Jam. Like they were just trying to be Pearl Jam." And honestly, their first record, you can kind of hear that a little bit, like with the hell, with all that stuff going on. And I can kind of get it. But you think about it, pop music now today, pop music sounds all the same. Yeah, so why was it wrong back then? It's just crazy to me. Like, and that's the thing now is rock music, like Pearl Jam puts out a record, it's irrelevant. No one cares. Like maybe a couple 100,000 people listen to that record. Nobody buys it. Maybe a couple 100,000 people buy it. Maybe. It's crazy to me to think about that. And you hit on something. Growing up with something, there was a time period where when you liked a band, and this is really, I mean, I didn't have a car, but I had parents that would do this. When a band came out with a new record or an EP or whatever, you went to the local music shop and you bought the record. You bought the thing, and you took it home and you put it in your CD player and your cassette tape, whatever. Vinyl had kind of become obsolete at that time. And at that point in time, that's how it was. Now, you think about the streaming platforms. Now, everyone has to have an agenda and be strategic with the way that they release their music. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when's the last time Nickelback even put out anything?
I don't. It had to be early.
I mean, it's been a
2010.
while, right? I
Has to
mean,
be.
No, actually. You mean like original stuff? Because
yeah,
apparently
anything.
they in 2020 apparently they released a cover of "The Devil Went Down to Georgia."
Right. Okay, I remember hearing that. Okay, so their
I didn't know
last
that.
record, before that though, their last album, they had they had Silver Side Up, The Long Road, All the Right Reasons, Dark Horse, Here and Now.
Dark
No
Horse is the
Fixed
last one I
Address.
remember.
Yeah, so around that 2008 to 2011 period, that's when it became cool to hate on Nickelback. And
Yeah.
now I can't recall anything that they've put out ever. And now, and we do kind of touch on something semi-interesting. Elijah, what's going on with your camera, bro? Are you?
I'm trying to figure it out. It says it's trying to search for it. I don't know what's
Okay.
going on, but
Gotcha.
give me just a couple minutes. I should have it back up.
No worries. Sometimes I think that's happened to me before too. I've had to unplug mine and plug it back in. And then, but yeah. Anyways, if you ever listen to Chad Kroeger in an interview ever, especially now, that guy's a douche. So
Really?
yeah, for sure. He basically said, because there was a time period where Slipknot and Nickelback were on the same record label. Okay. And Chad Kroeger said the only reason that Slipknot made any success or had any success was because all the money that Nickelback made got funneled, like most of the money that Nickelback made got funneled into funding Slipknot's journey, basically. Funding their stuff, their tours and whatnot. It doesn't matter if that's true or not. Why would you ever say that publicly? Because now, obviously, Slipknot is obviously head and shoulders above Nickelback at this point in time. Like, it's not even a competition in terms of popularity. But why would you ever say that? Like, to me, that's just a douche thing to do, I don't know.
Sounds like he's sour from all the hate that he got.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, dude, it's like, hey, Chad, you were married to Avril Lavigne for like a decade. What happened? I mean, we all hated you. Maybe that's why they got canceled, because he married Avril Lavigne.
I forgot about that.
Dude, yeah, I know. They were married for a while, but I don't know. I'm interested. Elijah, what's your take?
For me, I think honestly, I think what it comes down to, I mean, if you think about that All the Right Reasons album, what year was that released, Jake, did you say?
Which one?
The All the Right Reasons album?
That was 2005. Oh, All the Right Reasons?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2005.
2005. So if you think about that was probably their most successful album. And you think you got Saving Me on that. You have Rockstar. You have was Photograph on that album too?
Photograph is on that album, yeah.
That had to be their peak time, to where, man, they were the band. They had so many hits. Sure. And then all of a sudden they put out, I think their next record was Dark Horse, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So then they put out, and that had some hits on it, but it was generally it was trash. I mean, and like compared to their last album. So I think it's just they peaked and everyone liked them, loved them, and then they put something else out that wasn't maybe up to par from what Nickelback fans were wanting, or even just the top 40 was wanting. So now all these teenagers are, talking about how much the new Nickelback album sucks, and therefore translates to, oh, Nickelback is just a terrible band. I mean, how could they ever follow up what they did?
But also look at the landscape too, like the musical landscape, because you are right, Elijah. Like, it was a combination of them putting out a follow-up to a record that was widely accepted. I mean, I love Rockstar and Photograph. Those are great songs. They are. If you think that those aren't good pop songs, you're wrong. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, just across the board, you're wrong. Like, you can not like Nickelback all you want. It's the same thing I say about Kanye West. It's like, if you don't like Kanye West, that's fine. The dude knows how to make a hit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you like it or not. It's a hit. It is equivocally a hit. Unequivocally a hit. So I think about that time period, 2008 to 2011, right? What is kind of coming up on the scene at that point in time? Like, when you think about it. Because something kind of, because Nickelback was kind of like edgy, right? They were like the edgy band, like oh, you listen to Nickelback, like what, like they were kind of the tongue-in-cheek band for the masses. It wasn't like Insane Clown Posse or even like Slipknot or something like that, but at least for like radio, like to sing Rockstar. Yeah, like to sing Rockstar on the radio is like, oh, like that's what, your suburban moms are listening to, on the radio.
Yeah.
But 2008 to 2011. Go ahead, Jake.
Some of the ones that I thought off the top of my head for 2008 was probably like right around when, maybe I'm wrong, but wasn't that like right around when Linkin Park was big or started to get big, or were they earlier than that?
Well, yeah, I mean, they had that Meteora album, I think, in like 2003. But yeah, like Minutes to Midnight, I think, came out in 2006. I was just thinking there was a time period where the scene genre, all of these new bands and like MySpace and like all this stuff kind of start Facebook and started getting more and more popular. And like all the word around all these like newer bands started coming out, and like the internet was really kind of coming into its own around that time period. And you think about all of the things that all these like kids that wanted to be cool are kind of subjecting themselves to at this point in time. Mm-hmm. They're finding all this new music that won't have a chance to quote unquote shine for quite some time. 2012, 2013 was whenever I feel like the scene genre and like that kind of became like the popular thing for young people to be doing, was like listening to that type of music, and like even like the newer reign of like metal and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There was a shift between radio and radio and the internet. Because guess what? When did YouTube come on the scene? Does anyone know?
That was like 2000. Was it 2008?
I believe
it's older than that.
2006, I think.
2006.
Yeah, I'm going to look day one YouTube. When did YouTube release? Because I think it was like June something.
2005.
Yeah, 2005. So put that into perspective. Dude, Nickelback releases their record in 2005, and then YouTube comes out.
That's a pretty good point.
So after that, all these bands doing all this different stuff coming in, then all of a sudden it's like it was almost like the transition, because my dad tells me stories of like whenever Nirvana came on the radio, right? If you listen to big hair metal the same time that Nirvana was out, you got made fun of. It's like, dude, you listen to like Tesla and like you listen to like what? Like it was like grunge all the way. There he is, his beautiful face. You're back, but now your sound's gone for some reason. Say something. Can't hear you.
Me now?
Yeah, there we go. It feels like a kind of a similar thing of like there's things on the radio, and think about like Soulja Boy and stuff like that. It's kind of on the kind of getting lumped into the same group, Yeah. If you told someone right now that you're listening to Soulja Boy, they'd be like, "What? Like, why?" I feel like that was kind of the narrative with Nickelback. Nickelback's on the radio, like peak radio play in 2005. YouTube comes out. All this new stuff is coming out. It's like, why would you ever in a million years, at least for our generation, it's like, why would you ever in a million years listen to Nickelback? You know what I mean? Like, and am I crazy? Is there any validity to what I am saying? I'm genuinely curious as to what you guys think, because this is what I've been thinking about for the past week. It's like...
I was just going to say, it really makes sense. I mean, if you really think about it, so, there's some friends of Allie's that I think the one girl in specific I'm thinking of, I think she's 21, and I'm only 27, so I'm not that much older than her. That 6 years, give or take, months, that's not a big time span. But my taste in music, like she grabbed my phone the other day. We were sitting in the basement listening to music. She grabbed my phone, looked at my Spotify, and she said, "I literally know 0 of these songs on your playlists." And I'm like, "What?" And like, how do you not know? How do you not know who Pearl Jam is? How do you not know who Creed is? Or how do you not know who these bands are? That have, Foo Fighters. Now, Foo Fighters are still huge. But and these kids don't. I say kids, but they just don't know these bands. So I think you make a perfect point. I mean, for someone that's not that much younger than me to look at all my songs and be actually into the indie rock stuff, be into the new hard rock stuff, and not know any of these classic bands that are not that old is ridiculous, or not ridiculous, but it blows my mind.
It's strange.
It's really weird because there's a difference in not knowing the songs, and then not even knowing who the band is.
Yeah.
Like that was a good point. Not even knowing who are the Foo Fighters. Like what happened in a 6-year gap that you don't know who the Foo Fighters are.
And also, no, yeah, exactly. Like when I just think about like 2011 to me is like, holy crap. Because Foo Fighters are my favorite band of all time across the board. Like 2011, Foo Fighters put out Wasting Light, and it was like, holy crap. Rock and roll does not get better than this. Like across the board. And it was also a really weird period of time. I think the Foo Fighters figured out, like, they knew who their audience was, and they were not trying to draw anyone else in. It was like, hey, we have a couple million people that love Foo Fighters songs, and guess what? We're going to make songs for those people. How about that?
Yeah.
And it is crazy to think that most bands and musicians do not think that way. They are trying to draw in. The mentality of trying to gain more eyes and more ears on their music has never faded. And it's kind of crazy to think about, like for example, look at the first 2 Coldplay records versus Viva La Vida and Milo Xyloto, those albums back to back.
So which one were the first 2? So I know Parachutes was their first one. Was it X and Y is the other one?
Parachutes and then A Rush of Blood to the Head.
Rush of Blood to the Head. Now that, in my personal opinion, you do not get, any type of music better than that album. Rush of Blood to the Head is peak musical genius, in my opinion.
It's so good. Well, that's the thing is, like,
that is a great album.
It is so good. And that's the thing is, there was a time period where every new Coldplay record that would come out, and I'd be like, okay, they're doing the thing. They're trying to stay relevant, and that's great. And you can admire the genius. There were certain albums that didn't hit for me, but to me, I agree with you. Like, across the board, good records, number 1 and number 2. And shout out to Jim Tasty. He's a friend of. He always likes and stuff like that. If you're listening at this point, Jim, this one's for you, or Brett, whatever you want to go by. That's his Twitch handle. He's like Coldplay obsessed, and he always talks about those first 2 records.
Yeah.
So good. But again, after 2006, what is happening? Like, you have like Viva La Vida, right? The kind of the anthem of my middle school years really was that record, dun 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 dun. That was like iconic. It still is. But now it's even kind of crazy to think that the lifespan between that and The Scientist, you put those songs side by side, I would almost rather hear the one that's a decade old versus versus Viva La Vida. Because now songs just do not have the same longevity that they had 10, 15 years ago, and it's because of this. Dude, streaming has ruined music, like, across the board. And really, YouTube ruined everything. Honestly, whenever you trace it, I've been thinking about this all week. When you trace it back, it's like, why did everything that I love start to suck? It's because YouTube literally, and don't get me wrong, like, obviously, if you're watching the show on YouTube right now, it's a great tool. It's a great tool to, like, bring new people in. But the mindset and the culture that became the precedent ruined media as a whole. Like, it did. Like, because, I don't know, like, without... Yeah, I mean, does anyone want to piggyback off of this? Because I'll keep going if you don't stop me. Go ahead, Jake. You look like...
I mean, I haven't found.
No, I'm formulating what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Well, and I think about. I really don't think. remember whenever like a song came on YouTube and that was the most popular thing to play on YouTube, like radio was not going to touch that. Like think about like Friday by Rebecca Black. No one's playing that on radio stations. Absolutely not. At least in where I grew up, that wasn't a thing. But guess what? Kids are singing it at school. It's Friday.
Oh my
I'm like, what the flip are you guys? It's like, are you not on YouTube? I'm like, what's YouTube? Like, what are you talking about?
First of all, it's Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, the week just started. Whatever your name, Chloe. Like, why are you singing? Why are you singing Friday on Monday with your Starbucks and your Hollister shirt? Like,
Monday at 7:30 in the morning. This is not what I want to hear.
Why am I hearing this? But again, as soon as YouTube monetization became a thing, the idea of I have to capture this demographic's attention and keep their attention, that became even more of a commodity than anything else, because before all you had was radio. There wasn't any visual to it, and now it blows my mind the stuff that kids think is funny today. I'm like, and we're talking about, this whole thing started with Nickelback, right?
Yeah.
Now Nickelback seems like such a minute detail and the broader scope of whatever, but in a way they were kind of like a building block for cancel culture. Like, like prove me wrong. And we had talked about, like Marilyn Manson and Madonna and stuff. And it's like, it's not like society didn't try to cancel those people. Yeah. They did try, but it just didn't work. It wasn't a thing. Now Nickelback, I haven't heard a peep out of Chad Kroger or anything Nickelback. And freaking Jake just told me they put out, that Devil Went Down to Georgia single. And guess what people on Twitter were doing whenever they put that out? They were crapping on Nickelback, because that's still the thing that we do about Nickelback. And I don't know.
I will like to say that it sounds funny. I haven't listened to it, but it's amusing to me. And this year they released Rockstar. I'm assuming their song Rockstar as a sea shanty version.
A sea shanty version? Okay, let's talk about that
down
for a second.
Below, ring down, everybody.
Let's talk about for a second. I love sea shanties. I love them.
I do too.
Me and Jake, we'll sit down and sit at the bar and we'll have a beer and we'll just get lost in them. It's a lot of fun. But leave the modern stuff out of my sea shanties. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear All Star by Smash Mouth in a sea shanty version. I just don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't. Anything. Well, it kind of goes back to like the media and cancel culture. Like the media and cancel culture are directly correlated, because as soon as one demographic of people doesn't like something, they're like immediately on it. It's like the Twitter warriors are already on it, and like, you're weird if you don't agree. It's like, no, I don't agree, actually. Like, you guys are idiots. You're wrong. Like, what? Why is it cool to cancel someone's entire career based off of one mistake? Like, I don't understand. But again, going back to it, two key pillars, like YouTube and Netflix. Netflix, I don't know. Netflix is one of those things, like, I kind of like that I'm able to pick and choose what streaming services that I want to watch at any given month, because it's around the same, it's around the same thing, as the same price as cable. But with YouTube, it's this ever growing. And as someone who, I put out a lot of content on YouTube, and it's crazy to me how the content that I put out that I don't really care about that much, how that's the stuff that gets recommended the most and gets the most watch time. I'm like, what the flip? I don't understand. Yeah. I didn't even like that video that much, and that's getting views. That's what people like. What happened to class? I don't get it. Like,
that's a good point, because you hear, if you watch these interviews with a lot of artists today, like Ed Sheeran was the first one that came to my mind. On what album was it? Thinking Out Loud was on. Was that his Multiply album?
Divide.
The green one,
the blue one. I think. Yeah, I think it was the blue one with the.
Oh, okay. So that one, like, he's even said in interviews that, obviously that's like his biggest song he's released, but he's even said in interviews he thought that was like, he liked it, but according to him, it was like one of the worst ones that he did as far as which ones he liked. And the ones that he liked the most were ones that people didn't even talk about.
Right. The ones that weren't hits. That's kind of, and that's insane. I just want to think about, well, let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit, okay? Because without YouTube, TikTok probably doesn't exist. Potentially. Yeah. You go on TikTok and you think about the attention spans and like how these trends. It wasn't so long ago that that exact same structure was on YouTube. People were trending, doing specific things that other people were doing. And, you know, you think about like how PewDiePie and like Smosh kind of like paved the way for like content creators and stuff. And you can look at someone's thumbnail and be like, oh, well, yeah, they didn't like without Smosh's like version of that, like they wouldn't have that. Like they just copied him, you know? Mm-hmm. So now we have like this mixture of all these content creators. Nothing's original anymore. It's almost like writing a song. Nothing's original anymore. It's like, hey, what's that chord progression? Okay, A minor, G, C. Okay, E minor. Yeah. Okay, got it. Like whatever. I know that's X song as well. Whatever. That's kind of how content creation has become. To where now people are so fixated on like trying to be like someone else. They're not trying to make their own thing anymore. They're just trying to be like the person that they watch. And it's great to have influences. That's not what I'm saying at all. But then you have like the other half of it, you know, the other half of it where you're having influencers being like predatory because they know 1 million people are going to watch their content, and it's like, oh, I can make money off of these people. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many people that are not privy to that, you know? But in a way, that's how it's always been. Like, and I think this might be part of kind of like what we're saying with Nickelback. Like this kind of all goes full circle with Nickelback. Nickelback in 2005 is probably thinking like, holy crap, we can probably write whatever crap we want and these idiots are going to buy it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, but now it's like the system has turned on itself because it's like music is somewhat irrelevant now in a way because it's just like it has a lifespan of like a year, and then, or if that, maybe a few months, and then it's on to the next thing, unless it's the bands that you really, really care about. There was a time period where a song would be on the radio for like months and months and months, and that's all you had. You didn't have a way to re-listen to it, you know? And God, like, it's a combination of the technology and services that are available versus how people are reactionary to that thing. It's like it's instantaneous, boom. We can have a cancel type vibe, you know, to whatever, you know. And again, like the main topic is supposed to be like what bands really suck, quote unquote, and is it warranted? Does Nickelback suck? Like that. Let's get back to the main. We really digress. Does Nickelback suck? That's the biggest question.
In my opinion, absolutely not. I mean,
I don't think so.
Yeah, do they suck as people? Maybe, but their musical talent is you can't deny it. It's like saying does Tom Brady suck? But no, Tom Brady doesn't suck. He's got you know, he can count his Super Bowl trophies on both hands. You know, he doesn't suck. You may not like him, you know, but he doesn't suck, you know.
Chick says plus his wife. Oh my God, dude, that was so freaking. No, you make a big point. It's like, God, he's so good, and I freaking hate him. You know, like. Yep. I think that's how it is with that. Is a really good comparison, actually. Jake, what do you think?
I agree 100%, and kind of, I think going back to what you said about what you were talking about with living in the social media age, like. Kids now, what I guess they're all, you know, already in their 20s, but they grew up on nothing but social media, and the attention span that you talked about being so short, it's all about instant gratification. And I feel like with cancel culture, especially, that's what's popular. So if somebody's going to cancel one person and it gets any sort of attention, the rest of us are going to jump on.
Yeah. Because that's what like the cool thing. Yeah, exactly. That's like the cool thing to do. It's like you just want to jump on it.
And those genuine, you know, cool things that actually do trend, you do feel like kind of like a jerk almost just to even follow it, because that's the thing to do, and you're like, oh, this actually is cool, but just because I don't follow this other thing, now I'm a weirdo because I don't follow every trend that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the thing
Being on
that
TikTok too. Oh, go ahead, Gabe.
no, you go.
No, I was just going to make a point to what I just said about if you're on TikTok and you just look through stuff and all the stuff that is trending, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand how anybody can keep up with half of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like there's a TikTok for you. Like, you might see trends that I would never see. Because sometimes my wife will come to me and is like, have you seen that TikTok trend where what? And I was like, I don't know what you're freaking talking about.
Right.
Like, she's on a different TikTok than me.
Mm-hmm.
And, we talked about instant gratification. That is totally the thing that is ruining everything. Because even with TikTok trends, like by the time you're seeing it, it's probably too late for you, actually.
Oh, yeah.
For
sure.
It's almost like stocks. Like if you hear about a stock that's really popping off, it's too late. Like it already popped off. You're just kind of catching the tail end of it. And I don't think, kind of going back to Nickelback, I don't think Nickelback sucks. I really don't. It's not my favorite band to listen to, but like, here's the deal. They make catchy songs, or they did at one time. They make catchy songs because that's what their freaking job is, to make catchy songs.
Right.
That is literally the whole point, is to get you to like bounce to it. And for a radio time period, I very much put Nickelback's Rockstar in the same vein as if you hear The Pretender by the Foo Fighters, you freaking know that song because you heard it a million times on the radio. It was the same thing with Rockstar. Like, you put it in, granted, I think the musicianship and like actually composition is way better on the Foo Fighters end, but that's the whole thing, is to make a good pop song, you don't have to have crazy composition. You need like 4 poppy chords with like a decent drum beat and you're good. Like, that's it. That's all you need. And Chad Kroeger had, a different enough of a voice to make the song accentuate to the masses. Yeah. And that's the thing, is we've taken that, or the younger generations have taken that for granted. Because they grew up with an iPad in their hand or an iPhone in their hand. They grew up on YouTube. They grew up being able to watch. I remember there was a time period where you would go on to Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network or whatever, and you'd pray that there was a good episode on that you wanted to actually freaking watch. So you didn't have to flip through the freaking channels.
And one that wasn't overplayed.
Yeah. Now you have access. These younger generations have access to whatever they want, whenever they want. And for me, I'm selfish because it's like that one episode of Ed, Edd and Eddy that makes me laugh. Like, the duel between Rolf and Eddie with the fish. Like, to me, that's like the most hilarious. Hit Rolf! Like, to me, like, that's like the best thing ever. But for these kids, I'm like, you haven't earned that. Like, you haven't earned, this is kind of my whole soapbox. Hey, guess what? You have not earned the right to cancel anybody. What have you been through? You haven't been through anything. Like, you haven't. I'm sorry. And it's like,
it's kind of,
God, it's like, oh, we have a bad life. It's like, dude, no, you don't actually. I thought I had a bad life at one time too.
We remember when cell phones didn't exist, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, I remember when I was freaking trying to text my girlfriend on my Razor, where you had to like type 1,000 times to say something like, good God.
By the way, great phone. We're not dissing the Razor by any
I still have my Razor. Still have it.
The OG Razor, not this new crap they tried to like revive, but the OG Razor, super dope phone. So
yeah.
We have made this conversation. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Jake.
I was just going to say, like, real quick to what your point was earlier about how you said streaming music has kind of ruined the, I forgot exactly what you said, but
it's just ruined music across the board.
Yeah. It's kind of sad to think about, like, when we were kids and all you could get was the CD. If you bought the CD, you either listened to every song whole the first time, or if you didn't, you'd wait 20, 30 seconds, skip it. But because that's all you had from them, that album, was you'd go back to it at a different time and listen to it all the way through. Now with, like you said, with streaming music, there's so much available. I feel like people listen to it for the first 10 seconds, they skip a song, first 10 seconds, skip a song, and they never go back to it. And I
Yep.
feel like a lot of people miss out on a ton of great songs because of that.
No, I agree. That's a great point, because when I started my YouTube channel, it was that thing of like, okay, I'm going to try and listen to this record all the way through, every song, even the songs I don't like, front to back. I'm listening to this thing at least 3 times, because after 3 times of really listening to it, you're looking for the stops, you're looking for whatever it is. Maybe you're looking for the thing you didn't like the first time through. By the end of that 3rd listen of that whole record, that whole album, if you like it or not. And you have reasons why you have reasons why you like it or not. And at the end of the day, it's just my 2 cents anyways. It's not like I'm some like music guru. It's just like, people, you can halfway just talk to people about whatever. It's like, oh my God, he knows so much about music. It's like, no, I don't really know that much about music. Did you freaking even listen to it? Did you listen to the songs? That's what it comes down to. Because if you liked it based on reasons X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't match up with what I remember, 2 things are going through my mind. Either I need to go listen to it again, or you're full of crap and you didn't listen to it.
Yep.
So that's how it kind of. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, which is exactly like what cancel culture is. There's no reason.
No, there's zero reasoning.
I didn't like the first 10 seconds, so you're canceled.
Bingo. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It is a broader scope beyond Nickelback. And my God, if anyone has made it this far, God bless you, because like we're onto something. I'm not kidding, dude. Nickelback, I'm telling you, earliest case of cancel culture. We're gonna cancel Nickelback. Why? Why are we canceling Nickelback? It's because all this other stuff was available, and you just kind of came to the conclusion that maybe Nickelback wasn't that great of a band, or didn't make that great of songs. But I don't know. It's the same thing with country music for me. It's like, country music has its place. Like, you listen to it by the river while you're camping. Like, I'm not going to be whimsical about the lyrics in country music, even though there are some good lyrics. There is some good lyrics from some of those songs. But whenever I think of, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for the feeling it gives me. And nowadays, if a song or whatever, or a band doesn't have that feeling of whatever the kids are wanting these days, because now you've given the kids the instant gratification, you've done all this stuff, now they are the ones saying, mommy, I want the iPad, mommy, I want this, or whatever, I need this thing, I need this feeling. We're working, like, we're working doing all this stuff, they are the ones that are kind of controlling everything now. Like, when you think about it, like, the younger generations have gotten their way for so long that now they have kind of shaped. It's become there was this thing I saw a long time ago. It was like, if you can sell something to kids, then you can be successful. Well, guess what? Now there's more opportunities than ever to sell to children through everything. And that's just what our culture's become, is now trying to pander to younger generations and trying to sell to kids. Yeah. Which is crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Which is also sad if you think that when we looked up when YouTube came out is what made me realize this. We are now the ones who are like, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
YouTube came out in 2005. That's insane. I hardly can even remember my life before having YouTube.
Yeah. I didn't even know what YouTube really was until I was like in high school. Like, I didn't get on YouTube for anything at all. I just thought it was like what's a computer? I'm sorry, what? Like, I didn't know anything.
Yeah, a lot of us couldn't. I mean, I remember when the internet first became a thing in my house, it was you had to unplug the phone and then you plug the computer in and you hear that dumb sound for a minute and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to connect, and then you finally get on, I don't know if Google or maybe MSN was the thing, and you're on MSN and you're like, oh, okay.
MSN, yeah.
And so you type in what you want to search, and then 30 seconds later to a minute later, you finally found it finally loaded into what you wanted. It wasn't like today. I mean, these kids have everything at the edge of their fingertips.
They ain't got to work for nothing.
And
on a silver platter.
They can also say what they want at their fingertips too. It's not like
exactly.
If we had our opinions back in the day, we kept it to ourselves. We had no avenue, no outlet to say a single word about it, except maybe to our friends that we rode bikes with.
Yeah. And you didn't get your feelings hurt if someone had a different opinion than you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I think this. It's like, well, I think that's dumb. It's like, all right, well, you're dumb. Whatever. Like, okay, let's go ride bikes. Or let's do whatever. Let's go on with our freaking lives and not get so freaking hung up about every freaking little thing.
Yeah.
That's just what it's turned into. Holy crap.
If it hurt your feelings, you hurt your feelings. You know, it wasn't like you didn't run back to your other friends and say, oh, that guy's a complete jerk. He let's not hang out with him anymore. I mean, maybe some kids did. I never did. But
you went home and you played video games and you got over it. You freaking got over it is the point.
Exactly.
Now it is not like that at all. Like
no. Everyone
could you
everyone wants to be I don't this probably is not the right word, but everyone wants to be a martyr or something where they're like, I was hurt, this hurt my feelings. It doesn't have to be a celebrity. It doesn't have to be someone famous. It could just be someone that you just met on Reddit that you don't like, and all of a sudden you get all these hundreds of people bullying this one person just because they heard one side of a story that this guy didn't say
again
something they didn't like.
Something that originated on YouTube, like YouTube comments. Like that was a thing. You get like in these huge fights with people on YouTube. It's like, I didn't freaking know you. Like it is crazy what the internet has done and like just what technology has done. It's insane. And kind of like the whole ball of wax with cancel culture in general is maybe it was better whenever we just had to rely on face-to-face communication. Put yourself in 2001, okay? 2001. And the pandemic happens right now, like in 2001, with nothing. What then?
Be outside in a tree. That's what I'd be doing.
You'd be outside freaking figuring out what to do. And you'd be getting phone calls from people be like, hey, have you heard? Did you watch the news? Hey, make sure you're watching the news. Make sure you're doing those. It'd be a completely different story. But now...
in front of the TV at 5 o'clock every day.
Yeah, exactly. It's a completely different story. And now I think for all the good the internet can do, at the same time, it is equally, if not 10 times as like worse. Yeah. It is worse, and it's just ruining everything, you know. Yeah. God.
Could you imagine kids in a Call of Duty lobby like from Modern Warfare era?
Oh my God, there wouldn't be any. They'd all be gone. They'd be like, you know.
If the kids now that play Call of Duty now were in Modern Warfare 3 lobbies for multiplayer 2, all of us would be canceled. We'd probably be in front of a judge right now going over what we talked about.
Yeah, we'd be banned. We'd just be banned from Xbox Live for like life is what would happen.
And I quote, "I will find you and murder your family." Do you feel that way? No.
We also have here Jacob Lubber here. We have here that you were trying to scam Microsoft points off of little Timmy. Because what the heck happened there? You sent him a direct message. It says here you were going on vacation. You tried to scam him over the weekend.
Microsoft points.
Please, for something. God, how times have changed. Now look, we really only focused on Nickelback here. And I want to get to, just kind of wrap up this discussion, of this whole, whatever this discussion has been. I want to kind of get some viewpoints on some bands that maybe have also gotten a bad rap because of cancel culture. And I hope you guys thought of some. Before we do that, one more, I'm about to piss myself. One more Pete break, and then we'll get to it. So we'll be right back. Good. And we're back, but you would have never known. So I decided before we get into like our honor, because I feel like Nickelback was like the big one that I think we all were thinking at the beginning of this conversation, right? Nickelback was the cancel culture, like the canceled band. I want to think of some other ones, but before we do, let's talk about this beer, Tiki Island from Boulevard Brewing Company. Okay, an ale. It's just described as an ale with guava, pineapple, orange, and other natural flavors. It is 4.2% alcohol. And I have to say, I think this is delicious. This is a delicious beer. Like it really, I mean, it's nice and fruity. I feel like you could do like a black and tan with this with like a peanut butter stout, and it would probably be delicious. I mean, this is a great beer. I have nothing negative to say about this beer, honestly.
Absolutely not.
I mean, if you look at this and it's called Tiki Slam, if you freaking read what it is and you're like, oh, well, it's probably going to be pretty fruity. Yeah, I mean, it tastes like orange juice. It's delicious.
Yeah.
It tastes like pineapple juice. It's really, really good. I have nothing bad to say about it. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah.
I normally hate sours, but this is a sour, right? Or is it?
No,
Oh, no,
this is just an ale. It just says it's not even classified as a sour. It's just classified as an ale.
Oh, for some reason I thought it said sour. Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. And you think mixing it with a peanut butter stout would be good?
I do.
I have a peanut butter stout in the fridge. I kind of want to try that now.
Do it. Yeah.
I think you'd get like that, like peanut butter and like preserves type, like that, and that's kind of hard to replicate. But I think you could do that pretty well with that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Elijah?
No complaints, none at all. I mean, I looked at the can, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but man, that first sip, like, I mean, you probably saw me all throughout the webcam. I couldn't put the stinking thing down. You know, it was so good.
Yeah,
I will say the smell when I first cracked it open, I thought it was gonna be terrible because I didn't like the smell of it.
Did you guys notice in yours? Did yours have a lot of carbonation in it, or was it kind of on the flatter side?
Mine was not. Mine was very like not heavily carbonated at all.
Yeah, mine was the same. So I was just wondering if that was just an anomaly I got, but mine wasn't very carbonated at all either, and I like that. I think if it was carbonated heavily like that, it would ruin the beer, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think it almost would have I totally agree with that. For sure.
I'd like to also say about these two beers is I typically hate anything out of a can, but I thought they were both very good out of the can.
Yeah, totally. Well, and whenever you pour it out too, a lot of that tinny flavor kind of can be dissipated, if you let it breathe for a little bit, which is, and that's another thing too, is I try and not drink my beers too fast. If I want to like really get like a good flavor profile, I actually go from it having, being super cold to, letting it be a little warm, unless it's like a lager or something like that. That's typically what I'll do. But across the board, those beers are all really good. Both of them are really good. So if I had to put a number, let's put a number on both of them. If I had to put a number on the Founders IPA, which I'm going to drink the rest of that right now, actually. I would give the Founders, I would give an 8 out of 10, I would say. And I think I would also give an 8 to the Tiki Slam. I think both of them are really, really good beers, really, really good, like across the board. Like, man, like I could really recommend that to somebody. I think a 10 out of 10 beer is one of those things like, dude, you gotta try it. Like your Bourbon Counties, like your hometown treasures that like no one else can really touch. Like those are your 10 out of 10s in my opinion. But I mean, as far as these go, these are widely accessible, and they're just above. If you wanted to spice up your party that you're going to go to, or try and add something a little bit different to the cooler, I feel like both of these are going to be solid choices for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jake?
I think if I'm going to give it a number, I'd do the IPA. I'd do it a 6 out of 10. And I think I would do this Tiki Slam. Honestly, I don't know what to compare it to because I haven't had anything personally similar to that, like a tart ale. I'd agree with you. I'd give it an 8.
Awesome. Well, there you have it.
This is going to go to show like how we were talking about earlier. Me and Jake agree on everything. That was the same score I was going to give it. That the IPA 6 out of 10 for me. I mean, I'm not a big IPA guy. I mean, I really do enjoy when I find one I like. I do enjoy it. I drink that, like I said, I drink that on the boat. Floating down the river on the lake. That'd be a perfect boat beer. And then the Tiki Slam, I think mainly just because I was so genuinely surprised that it was just very, very good. I think just the amount of surprise I got really boosts the score a little bit. So I'll give it an 8. Just to be a little bit different, I'll give it an 8.5, just to be different than him.
There you have it, ladies and gents. You have two new wannabes, ladies and gentlemen, given their honest opinion. It's the Beer Bros. Awesome. So to kind of wrap up this discussion, gentlemen, because we've been at it for almost 2 hours, if you can believe it. It feels like I feel like I've known you my whole life,
Really?
both of you. I mean, me and Jake used to talk about God knows what, but even you, Elijah, it's so good to finally meet you and talk to you.
Same.
What are some other bands that we feel like have gotten a bad rap, or a bad rep rather, the past however many years that we've been alive? Jake, we're gonna let you kick it off.
So I actually thought we were doing bands that we hated. So
well, and
totally had a different idea.
No,
But,
say that too. Say the bands that you don't like and why. So you can go on a tangent. Bands that you don't like and why, and then maybe at the end, bands that you think have gotten a bad rep.
Okay. So a band, and I don't really have a reason why other than I don't like this type of music, is I cannot stand Motley Crue.
Dude, me either. I don't understand.
Motley Crue.
I don't like them.
But I also don't like what is that called? The hair metal, or what do they call that?
Metal. Yeah, hair metal.
Yeah. I even, what was that, like last week or something? I listened through all of their top songs just to see. I was like, do I really hate them? And I do. I hate them. I can't stand them. But I'm not saying they're bad though, because, well, number one, because how big they are, how successful they were, but there's nothing about them. Yeah, I even listened to Girls, and I was like, this is stupid. I don't like it.
It's hard to place yourself in that time period, Yeah.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is when Kickstart Your Heart comes on the radio, there's no way I'm driving 55. Like it's pedal to the metal the whole time.
I'm trying to think like what bands would be associated with them.
Well, you got your Def Leppard. I mean, you can't say that you hate Def Leppard.
Dude, Hysteria. Here's the thing: if you say you don't like Hysteria, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's a false statement.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I like Def Leppard. I would not say by any means that I dislike them.
But why is it they're still in that genre though? And it's like, why is it I like that whole album? And why is Pour Some Sugar on Me like one of the greatest songs ever made?
Yeah,
that entire genre of music I just cannot stand. Like,
nope.
But someone's playing like Hot for Teacher for me, and I'm like, yeah, I mean the drum solo in the beginning is dope. Like, especially since I think he did that with like one drum, I think he did that with one bass pedal. But like, I don't know, man.
Man, I gotta say, I grew up on all that. I love it. I mean, there are some like Whitesnake, I could give or take. Like, I mean, Poison, same way. I'm like, Poison. But man, you put on 1984 by Van Halen, I'm listening to that front to back and then twice over again. That is a great record. I love that record. I love Pyromania, Hysteria. Those are both great records. I guess there's a special place in my heart for that type of music, because that was like in between the really big two time frames of music, the 70s, 60s, 70s, and then the 90s. That's my wheelhouse. I love that. But so that's right in the middle there. That's what my dad listened to. So I can appreciate, I can listen to it and I can see, okay, this is how this became this in the 90s. I can see the transformation. That's what I really appreciate about it.
No, I agree with that too. And I think too, you think about certain artists that were even popular during the 70s and 80s, like, I don't know, Neil Young. And without Neil Young, you probably don't even really have Nirvana when you really look at it.
No, absolutely.
And how kind of crazy it is to see the shift, I love the story that music tells, and like how you can kind of trace everything back. And it's one of those things where, you're wearing a Greta Van Fleet shirt, and it's one of those things for me where I don't like Greta Van Fleet. Their newest record, I was mad that I actually enjoyed it. Is one of those things, because I remember seeing an interview with that guy, and while Jake's composing his thoughts, that's what we're talking about right now. I remember seeing an interview with that guy, and he was like, "Please stop comparing us to Led Zeppelin." And I wanted to say, then please stop singing like freaking Robert Plant. Then how about that? and you'll stop getting comparison. You're owed your entire existence and your significance because literally you put on a few songs that sounded like old Led Zeppelin hits is the reason you're famous.
And if they would just own up to that,
it'd be
cares?
a completely different story. It'd be a completely different story for me. Because it's not the thing of them being bad musicians. They are great musicians. My dad told me this thing, we were talking about Greta Van Fleet, and he's like, dude, have you ever heard that guy talk? And I'm like, yeah, he doesn't sound anything like how he sings. And he's like, I don't think he actually sings that way. He probably like just figured out that he could make that voice and was like, oh my God, we can become millionaires, because I can sound like this. So it doesn't like they rock. Like that's across, like there's no denying that they are a rock band that is awesome and talented and tight. You watch the Red Rocks performance. It's awesome. It's great. I cannot allow myself. It's just for whatever reason, it strikes a chord with me whenever, strikes a nerve with me when someone's like, please stop comparing us to Led Zeppelin. It's like, you're freaking owed every cent of whatever you're worth to Led Zeppelin. So shut up. Like,
he said his inspiration was Pink Floyd in one interview.
I can see that. I mean, I can see all aspects of it. I mean, he's also got a lot of Rush in him too. Like,
that's true. Yeah, I mean, for sure.
I hear Rush. It's a Rush that, especially that first album. That first album is just all Zeppelin songs and Rush songs is all it is. And one, what's the one song on there, Jake, that he does the cover of? Who sung that originally? I can't remember. What was it? It's something Smith, right? I can't remember, but yeah, they're all Rush songs and Led Zeppelin songs minus that one song. It just don't up to it.
Just say what it is.
Bad. What was
it's
it,
fine.
Jake?
Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke, that's right.
Yeah,
but yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, see that's what I love. Greta Van Fleet. I think they're awesome. Like that first album is one of my favorite albums. I love that album, and like AC/DC, I like AC/DC. I like Aerosmith. I don't know if they're the same time frame as Motley Crue.
That's hair metal.
Yeah,
but I love both of those. I don't really have. I guess maybe they're the exception though, because I'm looking through a list, and every single band that I see, I'm like, nope, crap. Scorpions, Poison. Oh God, Motorhead.
Motorhead, give me
Motorhead though. Come on. Lemmy as a god. Lemmy as a god.
Take that back.
God. Jesus face.
Yeah. And he did that while playing bass. So think about that.
Holy crap, dude. He was an awesome.
I probably hate Metallica more than I do Motley Crue. Honestly.
Okay.
Everyone always goes on. You know what? Here's the thing. That's what's crazy about like psychology in general. Is like you watch like that documentary about Metallica. You'll never look at those guys the same way ever again. James Hetfield is a complete tool. He's like, oh my God. Like, he's like, dude, it's crazy. It's insane.
Lars is a jerk and James Hetfield is a baby. Is pretty much
dude across the board. Yeah. I mean, yeah, totally. Jake, what were some, did you have any extra bands that you felt like had a bad rap, or can we move on to Elijah?
I don't really have much to say about it, but I don't know if you guys have heard this, but I feel like I hear this pretty often actually. And maybe like you were saying, Gabe, it's more part of like recent years with younger people, but I hear Coldplay get a bad rap by a lot of people.
I do too.
And I love Coldplay. I think they're awesome.
Do too.
But I think that is completely unwarranted.
I think there was like a time period. There's this movie come out. You guys might have heard of it. It's called The 40-Year-Old Virgin. And they're playing there. They're sitting on the couch. And you think about it, that was a widely successful movie. Probably the whole reason Seth Rogen is even really, I think he like helped write that movie or something like that. But they're playing there. They're sitting there playing Mortal Kombat. And he's like, I believe the quote was, "You know how I know you're gay? Because you listen to Coldplay." Is what the line was. And even as a little kid, like I felt attacked by that because I'm like watching them like on like FX like played that movie all the time. I'm like watching like at 10 or 11. I'm like, well, I like Coldplay. Like, am I gay? I don't know. Like, and
have you
it
heard
was
Fix You?
Another thing of like all of a sudden people are quoting it. Like people are quoting that line and like doing whatever and like talking about it. And then boom, like all of a sudden people are trying to cancel Coldplay, and you know what's his head, the lead singer, Chris Martin's probably like, yeah, I'm gonna go do a few lines. Yeah, I'm gonna go do a few lines of Speed, and then write the next like amazing record that's gonna dominate radio. So whatever, man. Yeah, you can try and cancel us, whatever. You know, but no, that's a solid one. I accept that for sure. Is that it though?
Off the top of my head, yeah, that was just immediately. That's what popped into my head was Coldplay.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Elijah? You got any hot takes on that one?
Well, I kind of took it the same way that Jake did, but I took it a little bit differently. Ones that I dislike personally and that I think is overrated. And the big one that I think that comes to mind is 21 Pilots.
Oh my God, thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Holy crap, thank you.
I hate 21 Pilots.
Dude, it's like,
say I hate them. But
all you guys did was like take Linkin Park stuff and like speed it up. That's all you did. Like, my God.
Don't get me wrong. I love my two pieces. I love my Black Keys. I love White Stripes. I feel like they were trying to do the same dynamic there, but I think what it boils down to is they're just overplayed. I mean, there's no doubt that they're talented musicians. I mean, they can write music, even though if half the music that they use is not their own, but they can write lyrics. Lyrically, they're good. There's no doubting that. There's a reason why they're top 40. But they're overplayed. I don't want to hear the same song on my
Can you say
station.
my heavy duty soul?
Yeah. I don't want to hear
that
that on my alternative station where I want to hear my Pearl Jam, I want to hear my Creed, I want to hear my my Metallica, Jake.
Chevelle, the stuff that's not pop music. Holy crap.
I want to hear my Tools. I don't want to hear that on my alternative station, and that's what alternative radio is now. When I think of alternative radio now, 21 Pilots is the head runner of that movement of modern alternative radio, and I hate it. And so that's when it comes to that, I have the most issue with them because they are the top dog as far as that type of music goes, in my opinion. So,
and I agree with you. I think there's one that's just as big that I hate just as much. And that's a
Foo
big
Fighters.
one. You.
Quick pause. I completely forgot to do this, and I wish I would have remembered. But I told Elijah when you asked me who my band was, I was going to say Foo Fighters. Just to see your reaction.
I will kill you. Oh my God. No, for me, this is a big one. This is like tied with 21 Pilots for me, and that's freaking Imagine Dragons.
Oh,
holy
thank you.
crap.
They had one.
I forgot about them
song.
too.
They had one. That Radioactive song was pretty good. After that,
Radioactive, and then they made 4 versions of it.
Yes.
Like Heathens, and then Believer. I was like, yeah, I liked this 5 years ago. The first time I heard it, like,
we get it.
Holy
you can
crap.
Scream when you sing.
Make me a believer, a believer. Like, I should be freaking famous. Like, I can recreate that in my DAW right now. Like, good God. It's just, it's one of those things where the radio culture has not changed. Really. The people who listen to Sirius and are listening to all this other stuff, like, thank God that there's people out there that, like, literally keep it on the Aussie station, and like that's what they listen to. It's like there's like Alice in Chains and like all these other bands being played, and it's like, okay, thank God there's some culture left in the world. Like, there isn't just soccer moms listening to like Imagine Dragons and 21 Pilots and thinking that that's like diverse. It's not. If everyone is listening to it, by definition that is not diverse. Like, sorry to tell you, it'd be different if they put out a record and we're like, we're kind of going a different direction, and not really wanting, because hey, guess what? That's what Coldplay does. Or the first version of Coldplay, U2, when U2 would come out with a new record, you could admire them because they were trying to do something different than what they did freaking last time. Right. And you had to get used to it. And that's what Coldplay does now. No one does that anymore. And people try, like I think about the Foo Fighters last few records. From Wasting Light to the one after that, whatever, Sonic Highways, to Concrete and Gold, and then their latest one, Medicine at Midnight. That is like an arc of like, okay, I'm still waiting for the good follow up to Wasting Light.
Yeah, I think we lost him, Jake.
I actually need to listen to the new Foo Fighters album. I actually have not listened to it.
I'm back. I'm back now.
Oh, there it is.
There we are.
Yeah,
Sorry
there
about
we go.
that. I
No,
dipped out.
You're good.
My computer's telling me like, hey, you've been recording for over 2 hours. It's time to wrap this bad boy up. No, you need to listen to the new Foo Fighters. I bought it. Here's the thing. If I really, really like something, I'll buy it on vinyl. I don't own every Foo Fighters record on vinyl because I don't like every Foo Fighters record, even though they're my favorite band. Their newest album is awesome. Like, it's so good.
Really?
I highly recommend.
I need to check it out. I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, there's so much more we could say for sure. But if there's anything you guys want to add before we wrap this up, this is going to be another successful Beer Bros episode, I think. So, Jake, what are your kind of your final comments? What do you got to say?
Mine's going to be directed towards doing the podcast as a whole. I thought it was awesome, for one, because I'm not much of a talker. I'm just going to sit back and listen. But it was a lot easier than I expected it to be. I think that's also a tip of the hat, though, to the host, because that makes a huge difference if you got somebody who can carry a conversation and kind of direct it in certain ways. But no, I thought this was awesome. I liked it a lot.
Yep.
And the beers were good.
I'm glad they were good. They were good beers for sure. Elijah, what's your final wrap up, my guy?
Along the same lines, this is not what I expected. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I had some pre-show jitters there for a minute, but got over it real quick. Other part is beer is great, and Creed doesn't suck. So I'll leave it with that.
And neither does Nickelback.
Creed nor Nickelback sucks. So there you have it.
You know, in the words of Nickelback, if everyone cared and nobody cried, the world would be a lot different.
It's true.
That's my last.
Hey, that's beautiful. Like, that's putting a bow right on it, and I'm not going to fault you for it. You know what I mean? Like, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a jam-freaking-packed episode. 2 hours and 15 minutes almost at this point in time. You know how to get in touch with us. You can email us at thewannabecollective@gmail.com. Of course, my usual posse, one Clay Villars, Colby Villars, and Abby Villars, for Beer Bros specifically. You know, we do that when we can. We record that in the studio. They sit on this here couch. They stare at the Dwight pillow right there. Abby sits on her throne. You know, we make her sit on the drummer throne. And it's a great time. So you can tune in for that whenever we record them. Obviously, at the beginning of each month, the first 2 weeks of the month, we have the main show where we're going through movies. Obviously, you know, the week after that, those first two shows, we try to do we used to call it the off week, but that kind of started to get confusing because like the off week wasn't actually the week that we didn't podcast, because we actually take the last week of the month off to not podcast. So it just kind of became confusing, you know. So now, you know, it's like kind of all a big part of the Wannabe Collective as a whole. So each week you're getting either a review, a Beer Bros, nostalgia trip occasionally, who would win, you know, there's a ton of stuff that we're doing over here, and it's just a great time. So if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, make sure you email us at thewannabecollective@gmail.com. If you're on Apple, make sure you leave us a fair review. I don't even care if it's 1 star. You can leave us a 1-star review. I don't care. Do it. That might make people more interested. But if you give us 5 stars, that keeps us more relevant. So there you have it. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed to Game Club if you love video games. A Guy and His Wife for the MCU review, which we are still currently recording, by the way. We've been hard at work on that. I just didn't want to, you know, release one at a time, like 6 months in between. But we actually have a few episodes banked that's going to be coming out. And keep your eyes on the Wannabe Critic podcast, because there's going to be something coming out on that very, very soon that I'm really, really excited about. Being kind of quiet about it, but you know, keep your eyes trained there. If do me one more favor, one more thing. I know I'm asking a lot. If you're in your car right now, do me a favor. You're already listening to that. You've already made it 2 hours and 17 minutes in. You're already invested at this point. Pull your freaking car over. Do me a favor. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, because all of the video content that we do as a production house goes on the Wannabe Collective on the YouTube channel. That's what it's called, the Wannabe Collective. You can get everything. That's stuff from, Beer Bros. That's stuff from A Guy and His Wife, Who Would Win. That's stuff from Game Club. And that's going to be stuff, across the board, everything that goes on this podcast feed. So there you have it. I've done all the plugs that I can do, I think. Jake, Elijah, it's been an absolute pleasure. You guys are kind of, thinking about starting your content journey. So, I'm not going to give you guys any plugs because you don't really have anything out yet. But it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And I greatly look forward to see what you guys do in the future. So,
yeah, that's great. Thank
go
you
ahead
for having us on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. And, to wrap it up, just go ahead and say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, whatever possessed you to check out any of the content that you saw today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If you check the description down below, you'll see that there's a variety of different projects that I'm associated with. This is Wannabe Critic Productions after all. So I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed what you saw today, consider giving some of those other projects a chance as well. There's a lot of stuff that I'm a part of that that I do. If you were here for me or for someone else that you saw today, again, just thank you for checking it out, and I hope to see you again. But until next time, I'm Gabriel Fast, and I'll always be the Wannabe Critic.